Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I was just lost, caught up in a good book. I tell you, I really recommend books about geology. They really rock. Sure hope no one laughed at that. Well, anyway, now that I put that book aside, let's dive into a different book. Tuck Everlasting. Here we are with chapter 24, and things are starting to get spicy. Let's take a look under the hood, you wild hooligans. 24. Leaving the house was so easy that Winnie felt faintly shocked. She had half expected that the instant she put a foot on the stairs, they would leap from their beds and surround her with accusations. But no one stirred, and she was struck by the realization that, if she chose, she could slip out night after night without their knowing. The thought made her feel more guilty than ever that she should once more take advantage of their trust. But tonight, this one last time, she had to. There was no other way. She opened the door and slipped out into the heavy August night. Leaving the cottage was like leaving something real and moving into a dream. Her body felt weightless, and she seemed to float down the path to the gate. Jessie was there, waiting. Neither of them spoke. He took her hand, and they ran together lightly down the road, past other sleeping cottages, into the dim and empty center of the village. The big glass windows here were lidded eyes that didn't care, that barely saw them, barely gave them back reflections. The blacksmith's shop, the mill, the church, the stores, so busy and alive in daylight, were hunched, deserted now, dark piles and shapes without a purpose or meaning. And then, ahead, Winnie saw the jailhouse, its new wood still unpainted, lamplight spilling through a window at the front, and there, in the cleared yard behind it, like a great L upside down, was the gallows. The sky flashed white, but this time it wasn't heat lightning, for a few moments later a low rumble, still far away, announced at last the coming storm. A fresh breeze lifted Winnie's hair, and from somewhere in the village behind them a dog barked. Two shadows detached themselves from the gloom as Winnie and Jessie came up. Tuck pulled her to him and hugged her hard, and Miles squeezed her hand. No one said a word. Then the four of them crept to the back of the building. Here, too high for Winnie to see into, was a barred window through which, from the room in front, light glowed faintly. Winnie peered up at the blackness of the bars, with the dim gold of the light between. Into her head came lines from an old poem. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Over and over the lines repeated themselves in her head till they were altogether meaningless. Another roll of thunder sounded. The storm was moving nearer. Then Miles was standing on a box. He was pouring oil around the frame of the window. A swirl of wind brought the thick, rich smell of it down to Winnie's nostrils. Tuck handed up a tool, and Miles began to pry at the nails securing the window frame. Miles knew carpentering. Miles could do the job. Winnie shivered and held tight to Jessie's hand. One nail was free. Another. Tuck reached up to receive them as they came out one by one. A fourth nail screeched as it was pried up, and Miles poured on more oil. From the front of the jailhouse, the constable yawned noisily and began to whistle. The whistling came nearer. Miles dropped down. They heard the constable's footsteps coming up to May's cell. The barred door clanked, and the footsteps receded. The whistling grew fainter. An inner door shut, and the lamp glow disappeared. At once Miles was up again and prying at the nails. An eighth was out, a ninth, a tenth. Winnie counted carefully, while behind her, counting, her mind sang, Stone walls do not a prison make. Miles handed down the prying tool. He grasped the bars of the window firmly, ready to pull, and stood poised. What is he waiting for, thought Winnie. Why doesn't he? Then a flash of lightning, and soon after a crack of thunder. In the midst of the noise, Miles gave a mighty heave, but the window did not budge. The thunder ebbed. Winnie's heart sank. What if it was all impossible? What if the window would never come out? What if... She looked over her shoulder at the dark shape of the gallows and shuddered. Again a flash of lightning, and this time a crashing burst of noise from the swirling sky. Miles yanked, and the window sprang free. Then, still grasping it by the bars, he tumbled backwards off of the box. The job was done. 2 arms appeared in the hole left by the missing window frame. May! Her head appeared. It was too dark to see her face, the window. What if it was too small for her to squeeze through? What if? But now her shoulders were out. She groaned softly. Another flash of lightning lit her face for an instant, and Winnie saw an expression there of deep concentration. Tip of tongue protruding, brows furrowed. Now Tuck was on the box, helping her, giving her his own shoulders to pull on. Miles and Jessie, close at his sides, arms outstretched, eager to receive her bulk. Her hips were free now. Look out! Here she came, her skirts tearing on the rough edges of the boards, arms flailing, and they were all in a heap on the ground. Another crash of thunder muffled Jessie's bursting, exultant laugh. May was free. Winnie clasped her trembling hands thankfully, and then the first drop of rain plopped precisely on the tip of her nose. The Tucks untangled themselves and turned to her, one by one. As the rain began, they drew her to them and kissed her. One by one she kissed them back. Was it rain on May's face, or on Tuck's, or was it tears? Jessie was last. He put his arms around her and hugged her tight and whispered the single word, "Remember." Then Miles was on the box again, lifting her. Her hands grasped the edges of the window. This time she waited with him. When the thunder came, it tore the sky apart with its roar, and as it came, she pulled herself through and dropped to the cot inside unharmed. She looked at the open square and saw the frame, with Miles' hands holding it. The next obliging roll of thunder saw it wedged once more into place, and then, would Miles put back the nails? She waited. Rain came in sheets now, riding the wind, flung crosswise through the night. Lightning cracked, a brilliant, jagged streak. The thunder rattled the little building. The tension in the parched earth eased and vanished. Winnie felt it go. The muscles of her stomach loosened, and all at once she was exhausted. Still she waited. Would Miles put back the nails at last? Standing tiptoe on the cot, she grasped the bars of the window, pulling herself up till she could just see through. Rain blew into her face. But at the next flash of lightning, looking down, she saw that the yard was empty, and before the thunder followed, in a pause while wind and rain held back for one brief moment, she thought she heard, fading in the distance, the tinkling little melody of the music box. The Tucks, her darling Tucks, were gone. Okay, that was the end of the chapter. Whoo-wee! This was a hootenanny. Okay, so let's go back. Let's think about some things. Leaving the cottage was like leaving something real and moving into a dream. Like leaving something real. Like or as, gotta be a simile, I reckon. The big glass windows were lidded eyes that didn't care. So saying this thing is that thing, but they did not use like or as. Natalie did not use like or as. That's got to be a metaphor. Tuck handed up a tool, and Miles began to pry at the nails, securing the window frame. Pry. That's an interesting word. Some of you may have heard it before. Like a pry bar or a crowbar. It's for sticking in and for wedging. It's like a lever. The force was it? Yes, to apply the force through a lever gives you so much more oomph. Also, so yeah, to pry something up is to wrestle it like a nail. Like you pound in a nail, and then you get the hammer underneath it, or under the head of the nail, and you pull it back up to pry. Also, if there's another meaning of the word where if somebody's like, oh yeah, I just got to town. And if you said to this person, oh yeah, I just got to town. And if you said to him, oh really? How did you get here? How long do you plan on staying in this town? Where did you live before you came to this town? What is your job, actually? How many kids do you have? Do you have any kids? What is your, what's your salary? How much money do you make per year? That would be prying also, is when somebody's asking all these questions, is they're trying to wheedle in, they're trying to get all this information. That is to pry also. But here, Miles isn't asking the nails all these questions. He's not. Now, nail, I wonder what kind of iron you're made out of. Are you made of iron? Was the blacksmith who made you? Was the blacksmith paid very well? I wonder. Where were you mined iron in this nail? Nail, do you have a fun time doing your job? He's not asking it a bunch of questions. He's pulling it out. That's what he's doing to the nail. Prying in that sense of the word. The footsteps receded. The footsteps receded. So that is to recede is to take away, or to back away, or to go away. So the footsteps recede is tup, 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 tup. So they got softer because they were receding. They were going away. What else we got? The thunder ebbed. Now, ebb is a very fun word. It's like ebb and flow. I'm sure you've heard these two words used, side by side. Ebb and flow. To ebb is to sort of pull away, but the flow is to sort of like go forward. So the ebb and the flow of the tides, like at the ocean, is the way the tides roll in. And then the ebb is when they go back out. Just back in, back out. So the thunder gets softer. And now I'm glad they had a thunderstorm, because with the crashes of lightning, just like Andy Dufresne breaking out of jail, he waited for a thunderstorm. So wait for a thunderstorm to break out of jail. So there's the crash of thunder, and then he goes, and rips the bars off of the, once he pops out all the nails, he rips the window off of the out of the window frame there. There's a crash and a clang, because that's got to make a noise, But if he's got all the noise camouflage from the thunder and lightning, thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder. Real fun song. Why are we listening to that right now? Anyway, I know, because we're studying literature right now. That's what we're doing. Okay. Lightning crackled, a brilliant, jagged streak. That later on, that's got to be a lightning crackled, a brilliant, jagged streak. That's got to be a metaphor, because she says this is this, but she did not use like or as. Natalie did not that time. The tension in the parched earth eased and vanished. Now, tension, sort of the root word of tension, I guess, is sort of like, I don't know if it's the root word exactly, but tension is a lot like tense. If something's really tense, it's like you're waiting. Like if you have a bow and arrow and you pull the bow back, that's the tension. Or you got a bow flex. The tension is when something is like straining. There's so much tension right there. That's the there's tension in a room. If some tension, what would add tension to a room? Is somebody, you're all eating supper and somebody bursts in and says, "Don't eat the soup!" That would add some tension, because you're, what? Makes you tense. And you're, like something's going on. You're kind of worried. You're kind of nervous. You're kind of agitated. Like, because whatever you do, don't eat the soup. And you're like, oh no, I've already eaten half a bowl of soup. What does that mean? Why not? What's wrong with the soup? I don't know. Tension though, but the earth, the parched earth is, so it's cracked, like it's dry and dusty. And remember, for days when he's been feeling like the oppression from the humidity, it's so hot and humid outside, and So it's so hot, and there's so much pressure from all the waiting for a thunderstorm, waiting for the rain, waiting to break May out of jail. But the earth is so dry and cracked, all the trees are so thirsty, all the plants are so dry, the toad is just parched and dry out there by the Foster's cottage. Everything is just waiting. And then, with the rain, it sort of eases up the tension. Just she can feel, So not only is the earth, the ground feeling this relief from the rain, but Winnie, I think, feels really relieved too, because she's so nervous. They're about to break May out of jail. That make me nervous. She's so nervous, and she's nervous. Like if you've ever had this thing you had to do that you're really scared to do, but you're nervous, and then you finally do it, and you're like, oh, sweet. Don't have that to worry about anymore. So that's what I think what Winnie feels here is the tension. It's gone. She's not worried anymore. Because she was so worried about breaking May out of jail, but now they've done that. The hard part's over. They did it. So relieved, like, Whew. Some adventure right there. Guys, whew. Okay, so that was... Alright. Thank you guys for sticking around. You're all wild hooligans, and I love and appreciate that about you. Thank you guys for sticking around for what may very well have been the climactic scene of Tuck Everlasting. We're just about at the end now, so come on back for the next video, and we'll see how Natalie wraps this one up. Alright.